Okay, folks, this is Who Did You Boycott today. I have not done a live broadcast in a very long time. Well, let me say, in a good while. I've been dealing with some crisis in my day-to-day life. But I've been staying up to date as much as possible with the conversations that are going on these social media apps. Well, I can't speak for anyone else but myself. I'm one individual person that has been on this earth for 62 years. For 62 years. I think that counts for a little bit. I think it counts for a little bit. So since I know that I have been living and breathing for 62 years, I think I'm going to be able to evaluate what is best for my well-being. I am going to be able to do that without anyone's help, because I've been waking up for 62 years and putting my feet on the floor. I've been breathing in and out the oxygen for 62 years. Well, tonight they had the great debate. The great debate. Well, folks, newsflash. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. Keep on repeating it over and over to your brain. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. That vote on the 5th of November is going to determine your faith and your children and your grandchildren. And no vote cannot determine that for Negroes, Black Americans, African Americans, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, B1, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bahamas, the continent, and all melanated nations around the world. That little vote on the 5th of November, does not include us. It does not include us. It does not include us. We are on the outside looking in. We maybe make up 50 million people in America. 50 million persons of a population of 50 million in America. But what we do over here in America will impact around the world. Let's all say it together. What we do in America will have a negative impact or a positive impact around the world. If you are melanated skin and you are living and breathing, unless you die in the next 5 seconds. That little vote on the 5th of November is going to impact us either negatively or positively. Well, we just have to use common sense. We make up 50 million of this population. We make up 50 million of this population. And it's being invaded by persons that do not have our skin color. It's being invaded by persons who do not have your skin color and my skin color. So, where are you going to go? While y'all running around here 24 hours a day, caping for these Republicans and Democrats and independents, you need to be packing your suitcase and figuring out where you're going to go. You 50 million persons, 50 million. And the country has been invaded for the past decades and decades and decades. But the past 3 years top all of that. And us Negroes, who are descendants of Negro ancestors, we have lost everything that they sacrificed and died for. We lost it. We lost every ounce of it, every death of our Negro ancestors that sacrificed so that we could have a better chance at a better life. We let it get washed down the drain. We let it get washed down the drain. And that includes me. That includes me. I did not understand this corrupt landscape when I registered to vote. I did not have a clue how corrupt, and layers and layers and layers and layers of corruption. I did not understand that. And I have to take accountability for that. I have to accept responsibility for not being educated enough to understand the harm that America's corrupt voting system was impacting my day-to-day life. Well, I thought I had walked out into the world and worked hard to build a future for myself and to help my mother and to help others in any way that I could. That's the thought process that was in my brain day to day. That Aquilin, you are going to work hard to try to have a productive life, to try to have security. You want security. You know that growing up in the projects the first 9 years on this earth, to wake up day after day after day, living in the projects and looking at your mother's face and looking at the worry on her face day after day as she walked through that door and told you she had worked 2 and 3 jobs. She could not put food on the table. She was worried if she could keep a roof over your head. She could not keep the lights on, but she was going to try to keep a roof over your head. And if that meant living in the projects until she could do better, then you had to lay down with an empty stomach that night and the next night and the next night until that food was back on the table, until those lights were turned back on. But you still had a roof over your head. You still had clothes on your back. And you were still breathing. So I walked out into that world at 18 years old. I made my decision when I was 17 that I was going to the military to help my mother and to also put something in place to give me security. I knew that college was not my route. I knew without any shadow of a doubt that Aquilin was not going to go to college. At the time, after doing my own personal evaluation, the military was my choice of the route that I was going to take to help my mother and to help myself. And so my mother signed a dotted line for me at 17 years old. I can't never thank her enough for doing that, because I wanted to be able to help her. I wanted to be able to help my mother. I also realized that the military gave me the best chance in this racist world. I knew growing up with the help of my mother that this world was racist. That every time I stepped out the door, it was a 50-50 chance that I would not come back home to my mother. I knew that at a very young age. I learned that at a very young age. So by the time I turned 18, I knew I had to make a choice. Priority one, to help my mother. Priority two, to give myself security. Priority three, what was going to give me the best fighting chance to navigate this racist world, this evil world. I felt the military gave me that fighting chance because I knew my physical capabilities, because I played sports. I grew up playing sports in my neighborhood. I knew the military was going to challenge me physically. I knew I could meet that challenge without a shadow of a doubt. So I played the odds. I played the odds and I rolled the dice. And I made the right choice because I made it to retirement. At 17 years old, I had to think 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road and have a vision that I wanted to accomplish 3 goals. Help my mother, put something in place to give me security for the rest of my life. Whether I walked out of that military after 3 years with an education, or I walked out of that military with a retirement. Number 3, that this racist world was not going to change. I had to make sure that I positioned myself that gave me the best fighting chance based on my God-given abilities. And my God-given abilities were that I played sports. I was an athlete. Well, that turned out to be very, very helpful in the military. I could meet that challenge every day. When it came down to physical ability, the military was not going to break me. They were not going to break me. I excelled. Here we are in the 2024. And folks are running around here caping for the Republicans and caping for the Democrats and caping for the independents and all in between. And this is not a drill. This is not a drill for Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans and Freedmen and ADOS and FBA and B1 and Jamaicans and Haitians and Bahamas and the continent and all melanated nations. This is not a drill. You don't have the benefit of voting for the lesser of 2 evils any longer. You had that the first 10 years when we got the right to vote. You had it at 20 years after we got the right to vote. You could tell yourself, I am going to walk in that booth, that voting booth, and vote for the lesser of 2 evils. I will walk in there with my head held high and I will vote for the lesser of 2 evils. That worked at the beginning. That will not work in the 2024, 21st century. That worked for a very long time. But that will not work for our survival and the survival of our children and grandchildren. It's not going to fly. It will not fly. It will not fly. These demons that you are planning to vote for, they only need about a year or 2 to finish getting things in place. 1 year, maybe if we're lucky, they need 1 more year or 2 years to finish getting things in place. Your little vote on the 5th of November is not going to change that plan. It's not going to change that plan. it will not change that plan that's already in motion. It's already in motion. The Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans have control over 27 states. Let's all say it together. Let's all say it together. The Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans have control over 27 states. So where is your behind and your children going to go? Where are you going to pack that suitcase to go? You need to start asking yourself that question while you so gun-ho looking forward to voting for your enemy. You need to go buy a brand new suitcase and be making plans to pack that suitcase, because you make up 50 million of the population. You can either stay here and get overrun, or you can get on an airplane and fly to another nation, or you can wait for your number to be called up and you get gunned down like an animal, or you can die a natural death. There's quite a few options there. There's quite a few options on that table, but not one of them. Let me correct myself. That's what each is on. That's my personal valuation. I can only think for one person. What I have personally evaluated, what's on the table for whatever amount of time I got left on this earth. Because the good Lord could call me away from here in the next 5 seconds, in the next minute, in the next hour. The Heavenly Father could call me away from here and I will be off this earth and I will stop breathing. So my personal evaluation is that, Aquilin, you have the option of getting on an airplane and flying to another nation. You have the option of being overrun by the invaders. Option number 3, you have the option of maybe walking out your door and being mistreated less than a human being by a racist policeman who now have reinforcements of Latinos and Mexicans on their police force. So they were not doing a good enough job by themselves. The racist Caucasian people and the racist melanated persons who joined those police forces. I don't know why y'all tell y'all brain dead self that if you join the police force, you're going to make a difference. That's a bald-faced lie. You walking into their environment. You can have melanated skin. You can have brown skin, dark brown skin, melanated skin, brown skin, dark brown skin, and you walk into their environment. You either going to get with the program or you out of there. You either going to get with the program or you out of there. It's nothing like what Smooth, whatever his name is, Smooth Times, Lowski, his old name Lowski. It's just unbelievable that a man who has brown skin can get on a public app and defend policemen. Something is mentally wrong with you. Something is mentally wrong with you if you can open your mouth and try to defend policemen. Something is seriously mentally wrong with you, because ain't no way in hell that you went in that environment and you did not witness the mistreatment. Ain't no way in hell that you done that. You had to have witnessed the mistreatment. Did you look the other way? Or did you put your job and your life on the line and spoke against it. Well, the military is that same way. See, they almost mirror each other. They almost mirror each other. In the military, they're going to make it very clear to you from day one. They are going to chew you up and spit you out, or they are going to force you to want to commit suicide. Are you going to get out? You're going to have a couple of options there. In that military environment, they're going to make it very clear. You either going to get with the program, or you going to have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who's higher up. Well, that's where I got lucky. My sister, who was 4 years older than me, went in as an officer. Her husband was an officer. They knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. So by the time I got in there, all I had to do was pick up the phone. I knew they were covering my back. Oh, I had to make a lot of phone calls to make it to retirement. I had to make a lot of phone calls to make it to retirement. But there were many days that I had to handle my own business. I did. I had to stand my ground and handle my business. If I could not handle that business, then I knew I had to pick up that phone. And I picked up that phone when I needed to. But I made it very clear I was not joining no good old boys club. I made that very clear. And once you do that, and you got a good track record, and you know your stuff, they're going to back off. They're going to go to the next person. They're going to back off. They're not going to want to, but they're going to back off. But that's the slight difference in the military. The military, you have a little bit of navigation. You have some maneuvering to do. In the policeman force, you don't have quite that amount of maneuvering to do. You're gonna run into that blue wall right away. You probably won't even make it out of training. You probably won't even make it out of that fake police training that they go through. That fake police training that they do. You won't even make it out of there. You won't even make it out of there. But at least in the military, you got a fighting chance. You got a fighting chance. But you're gonna run into that racism every day of your life. And they're gonna make every effort to chew you up and spit you out. They are going to make every effort to chew you up and spit you out. You either gonna get spit out, or you're going to commit suicide, or you're going to exit stage left, or you're going to get put out by their evaluation. So here we are. I cannot make sense of any human being that have brown skin defending policemen. So I don't know what happened to Lowski while he was in there. Whatever length of time that he spent on the police force, I don't know how he did it. And my brother, I forgot to mention that. My brother retired from the police force in California. He's somewhere in San Francisco. I went out there and visited him twice, I think it was. Yeah, twice. And I ask him all the time. I say, brother, how in God's name did you retire from the police force? Well, I can tell you that brother of mine is nothing but street. And that's how he did it. He he could go into that police force and operate because he spent quite a bit of time behind bars before he turned 18. He also barely escaped leaving Fayetteville, North Carolina by the slim of his neck. If we did not get him to the Greyhound before midnight, like we did, and got him out of town, he can't come back to Fayetteville. My beloved brother cannot come back to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And that was the case since he was about around, I think he was 11 or 12. 11 or 12. That's how bad he was. The man, my poor brother, he's a man now, but he was a child when we had to get him out of Fayetteville. We got in the car and drove him to the Greyhound bus station and got him out of Fayetteville. Well, by 6 a.m. the next morning, 5 police cars surrounded my mother's house. 5. I counted them. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. Those 5 policemen were surrounding my mother's house, and policemen had never been to my mother's house ever before that day. Before that day, I had never seen a policeman come to my mother's house. So you can imagine it left an impression on my mind. But all I was thinking was, thank God that my family listened to me that night in the kitchen. I said, we got to get him to the Greyhound tonight. Everybody else wanted to wait till morning. My little voice was the only one that said, get him to the Greyhound bus station tonight. Luckily, they listened to me. Being that I was the youngest one, older siblings don't want to listen to the younger siblings. But it was by the grace of God. By the grace of God, they listened that night. And we were able to get our brother to safety. We were able to get our brother to safety. So that brother, that brother that had to get out of Fayetteville at midnight, somehow or another retired from the police force in California. Bless his heart. I know he's a street person. He spent time behind bars. He is not going to be no pushover. He is not going to be no pushover. And I know he have, at this point in his life, he's doing quite well. He's doing quite well. He's got his retirement and he's got his businesses. He's doing quite well. And I'm sure he got plenty of connections. I don't know who they are. But the main point is, it takes a certain caliber of person to survive in that environment in the police force. The same way it takes a certain caliber of person to survive in the military. And that can also be applied to civilian life. They are all different. All three are different environments. The civilian life, the military life, and the police force are all three different environments. They may have some similarities, but one thing is clear. No Negro, no brown-skinned person shall be on a public app taken up for no policemen. They are Jim Crow policemen. They are Jim Crow. They just got a nice, pretty uniform on with a badge. But if you don't get in line, they are going to deal with you. They are going to deal with you. I have yet to hear one police person ever evaluate any situation fairly and stated that they police persons were wrong. I'm still waiting for that day. I think maybe one time there was a news conference where some policemen stepped before the microphone and admitted wrong. So let me correct myself there. Most times, these policemen will make up every excuse in the book to protect their blue wall. That's what I heard coming out of Locust, whatever his name is, Locust Smoothie. He got a new name on Twitter land. Smoothie, Smooth Time, something. The Smooth Time. Well, Lowski, that's his name, Lowski. I met Lowski when I first got on Twitter, back in the first month or two that I was on Twitter land. So I've been listening to this man for a very long time. I just sit back and do evaluations. That's what I do. The good Lord gave me a lot of common sense, and he gave me a very, very sharp skill of observation. Good Lord didn't give me book knowledge. He gave me common sense, and I analyze stuff unconsciously, and I observe. I spend, from a very young age, I've always been a very observant person. I observe. Well, in the length of time that I have listened to Lowski and persons like him on Clubhouse, fan base, Twitter land, in my day-to-day life, any human being with brown skin trying to defend policemen, something is mentally wrong with you. Something is mentally wrong with you beyond the trauma and the scars that were passed down from your ancestors. It's beyond that point, because those traumas and scars came about honestly. They were passed down in your DNA. But to get on a public app and try to defend policemen after witnessing decades and decades and decades and centuries of them hanging, lynching, and burning and murdering persons over and over, it's unbelievable. Because it don't have to be that way. The honest policemen, if they had a backbone and spoke up against it, it could be reduced. It wouldn't eliminate all of the evil. But if those honest police persons had the backbone to put their career and their job on the line and spoke against every time they witnessed it being done, it would reduce it. It would not totally erase it or remove it. But it's not happening. It's not happening. Those good old honest police persons are not stepping up and putting their job on the line and their life on the line to speak against that unfair treatment, that corruption of planting guns and drugs and mistreating people and treating people like an animal. They're not speaking up against it. They are standing with that blue wall of silence. But then they got the audacity to get on a public app and try to defend what human beings can see with their own two eyes. It's bizarre. It's downright bizarre that any human being would try to get on a public app and defend the policemen for the past 50, 100 years is beyond comprehension. Because millions and millions of human beings have two eyes, and they have witnessed human beings get gunned down one after another. Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, I heard somebody, I think it was Robbie, somebody said tonight on the Twitter land. But I first heard about Tamir Rice from Michi X. I ain't been right since then. I really have not. There have been too many to count. But then there are some that you hear about. You can't hear about all the murders, all the unfair treatment that brown skin and dark brown skin persons suffer day after day, 24 hours a day. You only hear about a few. Well, when I heard about Tamir Rice, I thought about Tamir Rice's mother. The greatest pain on earth is the death of your child. The greatest pain on earth is the death of your child. There's no greater pain than that. There's no greater pain than the death of your child. And when your child died the way Tamir Rice died, it doubles that pain. It quadruples that pain. It doubles that pain. It quadruples that pain. A 12-year-old just shot down like an animal by a racist policeman. And all the excuses in the book were made up to excuse why that policeman had to gun down a child. That is the sick world that we live in. That is the sick world that we were birthed into. But it makes it totally bizarre when we have adults who try to defend that. You can't defend corruption. You cannot defend evil. You don't have the ability to defend evil. You do not have the ability to defend corruption. And it's running rampant in America and around the world. It's just running rampant. All I can speak on is how rampant it has run since I've been on this earth for 62 years. And then I can do the research on what happened before I came into the world. But you cannot put a gun to my head and get me to defend policemen. I'm going to die that second. I am going to die that very second before I fit my mouth to try to defend evil, to try to defend corruption. I am going to die that very second. But folks that try to do that, I don't understand it. My heart goes out to Lowski and persons like him. I can't step into their shoes and try to understand how their brain function that will cause them to get on a public app and try to defend evil, try to defend corruption. But I'm going to move on past Lowski and persons like him, because Negroes, Black Americans, African Americans, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, B1, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bahamas, the continent, and around the world, all melanated nations, brown nations, There is no option for you to vote for the lesser of two evils. Stop lying to yourself. There's no choice on the 5th of November for you to vote for the lesser of two evils. The only chance that each of us have is to know our number count. Until we get that in place, we are at a disadvantage. Along with all the other disadvantages piled on top of each other, the number one disadvantage that we have is that we don't know our number count. You can't fight or win a battle without knowing your number count. Whether that's 5 people on the same page or 10 people on the same page. Excuse me. Or 1 million persons on the same page. You got to roll up those sleeves and know your number count. If you want to survive what's coming in the next year, 6 months to a year to 2 years, if you hope or if you plan to survive until the good Lord call you away from here, then you will roll up those sleeves and know your number count. Even if you just know the number count of all your living family members. If you at least get that done, you are ahead of the game. And you have a fighting chance. Without combining all the other number counts that we have to combine. At least you have already taken care of priority 1. Gather your number count for your family members, every one of them that are alive. And set up a Facebook group, some type of system that you are all on the same communication. Because these evil people are going to shut down this communication. That was my job in the military, was telecommunication. I tell you, it's ironic how things come full circle in life. It's just ironic. It's constantly happening. It always comes full circle in some way, form, or fashion. That I ended up choosing the career telecommunication. I really was not supposed to be in telecommunications when I showed up at the recruitment office. They wanted me to go into medical, supply, and admin. But since I had taken typing for 3 weeks in school, the recruiter said, well, since you don't want any of those 3, do you want telecommunication? And I said, yes, right away. Because I remember someone had said internet in high school when we was going through the hallways, and it stuck in my head. And when that recruiter said telecommunications, I knew it had something to do with that word called internet. I didn't know what the word internet meant, but it just stuck in my brain. So while I was sitting there talking to the recruiter, I remember hearing that in the high school hallways. We were just moving around, moving between classrooms, and someone said internet, and I never forgot it. So for all you folks, gather your number count for your family members. And then after everybody do that, we are going to have to combine all of those number counts and pray to God that we can reach 1 million to 20 million persons so that our children and grandkids can have something in place to fight this battle as long as they live. Because you cannot fight a battle if you do not know your number count. So that is something that we have to put in place so that as many of us can survive as long as humanly possible until the good Lord call us away from here. But until we get that number count, in place, we are at a disadvantage. We are already at a disadvantage. It's piled high. But the number one disadvantage that we have is that we do not know our number count. So, folks, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. America and the Jews and the oligarchy and the cartels and the Black Rocks and the Rockefellers and the KKK and the 12 colonies and the Proud Boys and Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and the banks and the corporations have already plotted your demise and my demise. If you're not fortunate enough to be in that 50% bracket and above, you got a fighting chance. If you happen to be calculated as being in that 50% bracket and above, you're more than likely going to have some options. You're going to be able to decide whether to get on an airplane or stay put and wait to die a natural death, or maybe you get unlucky like Tariq Hill and get that wake-up call. You never know when that day is going to come. You don't never know. It just pops up out of the blue. You get that wake-up call like Tariq Hill got. Thank God he was able to live. So many don't walk away from a situation like that breathing. Tariq Hill had some angels on his shoulder that day, because too many to count don't get to walk away and still be breathing. When I was watching football, I loved watching Tariq Hill play for the Chiefs. He was one of my favorite fantasy players. He was one of my favorite fantasy players. It hurt like it hurt every time. It hurt like it hurt every time to see a melanated person be treated like an animal, to be gunned down, to be treated like an animal, to be gunned down. As I watched that video of those policemen surrounding Tariq Hill, all I could think about was when my mother would tell me and my brothers and sisters, she gave us 3 things that we had to remember when it came to policemen. She sat us down and drilled this into our head over and over and over and over again. She drilled these 3 things into each one of our heads before she felt comfortable with us walking out the door. She said, don't give police persons any reason to mistreat you. Number 2, don't give police persons any reason to take you to jail. Number 3, don't give police persons any reason to murder you. Those 3 things my mother drilled into me and my brothers and sisters every day of our life. And when I watched that video of how Tariq Hill was mistreated, all I could think about was that conversation that my mother had with me and my brothers and sisters about those 3 things. Don't ever give them a reason to mistreat you. Don't ever give them a reason to take you to jail. Don't ever give them a reason to murder you. Because before they stop you, before they walk up to you, they have already decided whether you are going to have a bad day, whether you are going to go to jail that day, or whether you are going to die. They have already made that decision. Now, do every policeman think that way? No, but I don't have a crystal ball. Aquilin don't have a crystal ball when she walk out her door. So I got to err on the side of caution that all of them think that way. That's how I've been able to live for 62 years with the blessing of the good Lord and the teaching that my mother gave me and my own common sense. It's by no accident. I can't count the number of times that I got pulled over by policemen and I lived to fight another day. I would never be able to count the number of times that I have been followed by policemen, let alone pulled over, because I did have yes, I did. I can own up to that. When I was young, in my younger days, I made sure I went over the speed limit. I did. And I did it. I tried to do it with caution, but I would make sure I go over the speed limit by 5 miles or 10 miles. But when I was going through Mississippi and Alabama, I wasn't going over the speed limit. I'm not going to kid you. When I got to those state lines, I was not going over the speed limit. If I'm going through Alabama and Mississippi, I'm not even stopping for gas, let alone go over the speed limit. Oh no, I'm from the South. I'm not about to be brain dead. I'm not about to be brain dead. Where I was a contract driver, and I was a traveling little fool when I got out of the military. I could not stay put because I had got it in my blood to get moved around every 2 years. So when I got out of the military, it took me about more than a decade to get that out of my system. So I was constantly jumping in my car and going here and going there and going here and going there. But when I came to Alabama and Mississippi, I didn't play around. I made sure that I gassed up before I got to those state lines. And I made sure that I went the speed limit. So with the blessings of the good Lord and the blessings of my mother's teachings, I have survived 62 years. With all the number of times that I got pulled over for speeding, for all of the times that I got followed by policemen, I lived to fight another day. That was by the grace of God that happened. Because I could have ended up dead. I could have ended up dead. Like so many brown and dark brown skinned persons in America. Because I can't speak for any place else. I can only speak on what I have witnessed with my own 2 eyes in my 62 years. And my eyes have not lied to me. My eyes have not lied to me for these 62 years. My eyes did not lie to me when those 5 police cars showed up at my mom's house when I was probably, because I'm 2 years older than my brother, I was probably 14, I would estimate. I can't remember Pacific. I'm going to have to ask him. I've been meaning to do that, and it keeps slipping my mind. I'm going to ask him outright, what year did we put you on that Greyhound bus station? Greyhound bus. Because I need to remember, because I just can't remember. We both were so young. I just can't remember for sure how old we were. But I know I wasn't out of junior high school. I know that much for sure. So by my brother being 2 years younger than me, I'm estimating that we moved to that neighborhood when I was 9 years old. And I would estimate that he had to be around 10 or 12. And that would make me around 13 or make me around 14. That's what my estimate is. I probably had the dates incorrect, but I know it was before I left junior high school. I know that without a doubt. But anyway, I need to go to sleep. And I hadn't planned on doing a broadcast. But after listening to all you adults run around here on these public apps, it's downright embarrassing. It really is. It's downright embarrassing and pitiful that any Negro or Black American or African American or Freedmen or ADOS or FBA or not or Jamaican or Haitian or Bahamas or from the continent or in America caping for voting. Folks, this corrupt voting system was never put in place to be fair to any of us. It's taken me decades and decades to finally see that truth. For 30 years of my life, I believed that my vote counted. I told myself that over and over and over again. I said, Aquilin, your vote matters. That was until I volunteered for Obama's campaign, and I volunteered for John Kerry's campaign, and I went back to the very address that I was born. That was supposed to be a very proud day in my life. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I had the little clipboard in my hand with the forms to register that person to vote, and I knocked on the door, and I felt so proud that I was at the very address that I was born. Because I was not born at the hospital. I was born at 631 Cape Fear Court. 631 Cape Fear Court is on my birth certificate. They do not have a hospital listed on my birth certificate. It have the very address of 631 Cape Fear Court. So I knocked on that door to register that person to vote, and I felt proud of it until I took the blinders off. Until I took the blinders off, and I had to accept the truth that America's government and voting process is corrupt. It has layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of corruption. And since that time, I have continued to educate myself. That time frame between Obama and John Kerry, it took me a while to come to grips with the reality that I had failed myself. I had failed my community. I had first and foremost failed myself. I don't take that lightly. That was hard to swallow. That was a pill that was very hard for me to swallow, because Aquilin don't make it a habit of failing herself. Oh no. Oh no. Sorry, buddy Ro. I love me. I love me like no tomorrow. I don't make it a habit of failing myself. But I had to admit that Aquilin, you had failed yourself when you told yourself that your vote mattered in this corrupt system. It's a hard pill to swallow, but you have to swallow it. If you love yourself and you love your family members and your community, you are going to swallow that pill every day you get up. No matter how hard it is to swallow, you are going to swallow it. Because this is no drill. This is no drill. And each of us are on the outside looking in. These human beings are plotting and planning our demise. It's it's no secret anymore. No one can pretend like it's a secret. Back in the days, you could pretend like it was a secret. After 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, you could pretend like it was a secret. It's not a secret anymore. These demons are not even trying to hide it any longer. That's how bolden they feel. They're not even trying to hide it. But you people are gun-ho looking forward to voting for your enemy. It's downright sad. It's downright sad and pitiful and embarrassing. Because we do have an option. We don't have to walk into that voting booth and vote for our demise, because we only make up 50 million. Your vote and my vote is only going to count for the length of time it takes you to check those boxes and walk back to your car. You time it. Just look at your clock, look at your watch or whatever you got on your phone, and time it. The length of time it takes you to walk into that voting booth and get your voting card and walk back out, it's the length of time that your vote matters and my vote matters. Because once you get to your car, before you get to your car, you're going to cease to matter. I am going to cease to matter. But the one thing that gives each of us a fighting chance is to know our number count. Numbers trump money and power and control any day of the week. If you know you are in a battle against money, control, and power, but the only advantage that you have is knowing your numbers, then you have a fighting chance of winning that battle. Because numbers trump money, power, and control any day of the week. And your enemy know that. Your enemy already know that. They have already calculated that. And our vote on the 5th of November is not going to change the corruption of the Rockefellers. Our vote on the 5th of November is not going to change BlackRock. Our vote on the 5th of November is not going to change cartels. Our vote on the 5th of November is not going to change the oligarchy. They've been in existence since 1981. They're not going to pack it in on the 6th of November. They've been there since 1981. They're not going nowhere. They've been in place since 1981, and no one seems to have the backbone to dismantle it. I let alone even talk about it. Y'all adults don't even have the backbone to even talk about the word oligarchy, let alone face the truth. But somehow or another, you keep on convincing yourself that your vote matters. It's downright pitiful. It's downright embarrassing. But now, we're at a crossroad. We're at a crossroad because the time period that we're in now have never been faced before. This reduced population is a real thing. It has already started. All these folks who are getting evicted from their apartment, they part of the reduced population. While y'all been on these stages caping for the Republicans and the Democrats and the independents, those persons who are in the 30% bracket and below, they have already been calculated on Bill Gates's chalkboard for reduced population. They are expendable. They are already expendable. I think To be downright frankly with you, I think I'm in that 30%. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think very clearly that alkaline is calculated in that 30% bracket. I'm not ashamed to admit it. But I also know, I know what I know what stock that I come from. My mother and my brothers and sisters and the community that I came from. I know I have a fighting chance until I take my last breath. I know that. I don't need anyone else's input to already, I have already calculated that. I may be in that 30% bracket, but I also know where I come from. I know what I'm made of. So I can be in that 30% bracket and I can be on that Bill Gates' chart board as expendable. But until I take my last breath, until the good Lord above decides it's time for me to leave this world, I'm not going nowhere. But I'm still going to be in that 30% bracket. I'm still going to be there. But I'm not leaving this world until the good Lord decides it's time for me to leave here. So I know I have a fighting chance. So, adults, y'all going to have to make a decision. And the decision is not voting for the lesser of two evils. That's downright pitiful. To constantly hear you adults say out your mouth, I am voting on policies. I'm voting on policies. I'm running my own candidate. I'm voting on policies. I'm running my own candidates. Well, if you vote on those policies, who's going to implement them? You are living in a racist world. Did you ever think about that? When you constantly say out your mouth, I am voting on policies. Well, who is going to implement those policies at the local state level? Is it going to be a racist person? Is it going to be one of those persons like those 6 policemen that mistreated Tariq Hill on camera? Is it going to be one of those persons sitting behind the desk to implement those fake empty promises that most of them don't even get funded? They get voted on in Congress and the Senate and they never get funded. And y'all brain dead people be waking up day after day still regurgitating the talking points out your mouth. It's downright pitiful. Do you do any checks and balances to determine whether that money of that government program, of that bill that got passed, what kind of impact did it have? Well, there's 50 years of data of all these government programs, that have gotten passed over the past 50 years, and they have not impacted the Negroes, the Black Americans, the African Americans, the Freedmen, the ADOS, the FBA, and all melanated persons around the world. Each of us as a collective are at the bottom. So those little crumbs, all those little crumbs that we have gotten over the past 50 years have been nothing but crumbs. While all these other nations get millions and billions of dollars, we get a few crumbs. We just get a few crumbs, and then we get on a public app and regurgitate the talking points like the Democrats and the Republicans have ever done anything for Negroes, Black Americans, African Americans, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, B1, and all melanated persons in America and around the world. Because those policies that the Congress and the Senate pass, they impact Jamaica. They impact Haiti. They impact the Bahamas. They impact the continent. I don't give a darn about Israel. I don't give a darn about any of these pink nations. These people are pink. They're not white. Look at their skin. It looks almost a light color pink, pale. They're not white. Just put a piece of paper. Just put a white piece of paper up to their skin and ask yourself the honest question. Are they white? Well, end of conversation. They not white. The same way Negroes are not black. When I look in the mirror, I'm not black. My skin tone is copper. My skin tone is tan. My skin tone is like the color of a penny, but it's nowhere near black. But that's a whole nother can of worms that America is also cooking up for your behind. They have already placed your behind back over to the African continent because they need somebody to go over there and build that infrastructure. So they already done plotted with the help of the OMB. They have placed your behind back on the continent in a black racial group. Somebody can get on an airplane tomorrow or next week and go to Africa and find that racial group, because the OMB says that all black Americans and all African Americans belong to that black racial group in Africa. So somebody needs to get on an airplane and fly to Africa and find that racial group, because your children and grandkids deserve a birthright. And a birthright is not a racial group. But y'all so busy caping for your enemies, that don't seem to be a concern of yours. No, it don't seem to be a concern at all. Y'all just so proud to keep on saying Black American and African American. Have you went and read the definition? Have any of you went and read the definition? It says you belong to a black racial group of Africa. Is that a birthright? Is that an ethnicity? Is that an identity? Did I misread the definition? But let me leave that alone, because I'm not even going to deal with that, because that's part of the master plan. Somebody got to go back to Africa and build the infrastructure, along with the Bill Gates reduced population plan, along with the mega prisons, along with being overrun and invaded by nations that don't have your skin color. Now, do you understand why you need to pack that suitcase? It's a light bulb starting to go off for you persons who want to vote on the 5th of November. I would be more concerned about packing that suitcase if Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans and Freedmen and ADOS and FBA and Jamaicans and Haitians and Bahamas and the continent if we don't flip this script, we're going to be packing that suitcase. Or we're going to end up in a mega prison or a tournament camp. And we're going to be similar to the Palestinians. We're not going to be able to walk out our door without going through checkpoints. We are not going to be able to walk out our door without going through a checkpoint. What else? What else do you need to understand? You're not going to be able to sit in your living room or go to the bathroom without being monitored. What else do you need to know? If we don't flip this script, if collectively we don't flip this script and gather that number count and make our demands, and the number one demand that we need to be making is Special Field Order 15, because that's a war contract. If collectively we get that Special Field Order 15 If we don't get that exact thing re-implemented, we get land equal to that amount, that's going to help. That's going to help all of us, not only in America, but around the world. So we're going to have to make a stand. Or you can just, or you can keep on looking pitiful, because it's the day is going to come when you're going to have to look in your child's face and your grandchild's face, and you're going to have to explain to them why you didn't have a backbone. You're going to have to do that. I'm not going to have to do that, because my daughter clearly understands what her mother's doing. I'm not going to have to explain that to my daughter. I'm going to keep right on putting everything that I can in place to give my daughter a safety net. I have investments out there. If they pay off, all well and good. If they don't, all well and good. The investments have already been made. I certainly had to liquidate quite a bit of my investments to keep my head above water these past 7 months. I mean, I had to really go down the gamut and pull those investments and liquidate them, because I had to live to fight another day. So I said, Alquilin, that's why you made those investments, for emergency. I said, Alquilin, isn't that the reason why you made those investments? Because you knew a rainy day would come. You knew emergencies would pop up. And so I just did what I had to do. I pulled out my investments, and I was able to hold on with the blessing of the good Lord. The blessings of the good Lord made a way for me and my daughter. So here I am. These past 7-8 months have been hell. It's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. But with the blessings of the good Lord, me and my daughter have been able to hold on. And I want that for my community. I want that for my loved ones and my family. I certainly want that for my daughter. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to make my investments. I'm going to continue to make my critical evaluations. Do I have a crystal ball to know whether my investments are going to pay off? No. But I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take that risk, a 50-50 chance that they'll pay off. While at the same time, I'm going to be doing my daily evaluation of what I'm up against. What is my enemy trying to do to harm me? That's my number one priority every day I get up. Every day that the good Lord give me, my number one priority is to make my evaluation of how my enemy is trying to harm me, whether that's in print or audio. I'm going to make a critical evaluation every second of the day. What is my enemy doing to try to harm me? Because they're doing something 24 hours a day. They don't even take a second off. So every day that I wake up, my number one priority is to make sure that I'm evaluating every second of the day how my enemy is trying to harm me and my daughter and my community as a collective. That's my number one priority. That's been my number one priority since my mother taught me and my brothers and sisters about the world that we were growing up in. We ain't never been confused, because our mother did not play. She did not play. She made sure that she prepared us 24/7. She made sure of that. That mom did not play. She preached to us 24/7. And I mean, she was dedicated to reading that newspaper and giving us the background on our history. She was a walking historian. She dedicated her life to making sure her children understood their history. And she said to us, don't you ever put down your people, and don't you ever let anyone else put down your people. She told us that over and over. I didn't understand it when she first said it, but as I grew up, it started making sense. Mom said with a straight face, with one of her serious faces, she had a serious look on her face, and she said, don't you ever let anyone put your people down, and don't you ever put your people down. She told me and my sisters and brothers that I knew I had to make sure I did as Mom told me to do. I knew she was dead serious. So I took it seriously. And as I grew up, I started to understand why she had that serious look on her face. My mom's serious look will make you want to shake in your boots. I mean, she would put fear in you. She would put fear in your heart real quick. So I can still have those visions of how my mom looked when she put that look on her face. But she did not play around. She did not play. So adults, you're gonna have to make a stand. My stand is that all Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans and Freedmen and ADOS and FBA and Jamaicans and Haitians and Bahamas and the continent, my stand would be for collectively for all of us to sit home and do a no vote. I know y'all folks don't want to hear that because y'all still believe that voting matters, that you're going to vote for policies. Who's going to implement them? The racist person? Are they going to implement those policies fairly? No. So why are you voting? If that don't sink it, who's going to fund it? Those corrupt politicians are not going to fund half of the policies, half of the legislation that they pass. They're not going to tell you about it. They're not going to tell me unless you're watching them like a hawk, which most of you are not watching them and doing checks and balances. So you don't even find out about half of the policies and legislation that they claim to pass that they never fund. They never put any funding to it. They just go through the motion to play you for a fool. And you swallow it. You go run around here and rattle off all these talking points. This policy, they're gonna do something about education. They're gonna do something about HBCUs. They're gonna create jobs. They're gonna protect women's rights. They're gonna do this and they're gonna do that. It's all lip sync. But there is some partial truth to some of this madness. The LGBTQ, they sitting pretty. Because the LGBTQ got big money backing them. They got big money. Oh, yes, Lord. They got big money. So for all you brown skin and dark brown skin that make up 5% of those people, you not included. Although you may identify that way, they're not including you. Just in case you may be confused, just in case you have told yourself that you are included, just stay tuned. You're going to get that wake-up call that Tariq Hill got the other day. Just stay tuned. If you live long enough, they're going to give you that wake-up call that you are not part of that 90 to 95% of that population. You may make up 5% of that population. Just a rough estimate. You persons who identify with LGBTQ, you maybe make up 5% of that population. Just stay tuned. They are going to give you your wake-up call that they gave Tariq Hill. Just stay tuned. If you have not already got it, you will get it if you live long enough. You are going to get that wake-up call. They are going to give you that wake-up call. They are not going to let you miss that phone call. You're not going to miss that phone call. They are going to make sure that you receive that wake-up call. That's a guarantee. Because they got big money. Oh, yes, Lord. Look at all the legislation that they're getting passed. That takes money. That takes connections. That takes inside connections. So they sitting pretty. All those folks in the 50% bracket and above that's been running around here for the past 2 years crying, they finally getting a taste of that, where their comfortable life is falling apart. They didn't care about those persons who were at the bottom making minimum wage 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They didn't care. They didn't care about those persons who were working at Burger King and McDonald's and minimum wage. It didn't matter to them because they weren't making minimum wage. They had a 6-figure income and a Ivy League college degree. They didn't care about that foundation at the bottom. They didn't care about that foundation that was making minimum wage. It didn't matter to them. All they cared about was, I want my tax cuts. I want my tax cuts. I want my tax cuts. For Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump not to pay a dime in taxes tells you all you need to know about how corrupt this system is. But you folks make excuses for them. Oh, they know how to find the tax loopholes. Okay. Now you can stop crying about your comfortable life falling apart, since you care so much about defending them not paying any taxes. Then not one of you adults need to be running around here crying if folks don't go out to vote, do you? You don't have any reason to be crying if folks choose not to go out and vote, because you folks didn't care about those persons making minimum wage. You didn't care about Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump not paying a dime in taxes. So don't cry now. Don't cry, because you didn't cry when Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump didn't pay one dime in taxes. You didn't care about those folks making minimum wage at Burger King and McDonald's, did you? You had to know that the house of cards was going to crumble someday when the foundation is weak. That house is going to crumble. But you didn't care about that. You didn't stop to think about that. All you cared about was that I'm at a comfortable position. I have good connections. As long as my candidate get across that finish line, I'm in a comfortable position. I'm in that 50% bracket and above. It's not going to impact me. So all I have to do is to shame other folks to come out to vote. I have to fearmonger them. I have to shame them and fearmonger them. Because as long as I keep my position in that bracket, 50% and above, I have a comfortable life. I'm not impacted by this corrupt voting. I'm not impacted by the oligarchy. I'm not impacted by Rockefeller. I'm not impacted by BlackRock. I'm not impacted by cartels. Oh, that's not impacting me and my family. I'm good. Well, it's impacting you now, isn't it? That house of cards is crumbling, and all you adults are pitiful, running around here crying and still thinking your vote matters. That's downright pitiful. But the most shameful part about it is the harm that it's going to impact your children and grandkids 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You're going to have to look in your child's face and your grandchild's face and explain to them why you didn't have a backbone. You're going to have to find the words, but most of you are going to lie. You're already going to reinvent yourself. You're going to make up some lies. You're going to make up some lies. You're going to make up some lies and explain it to your child that all these whopper lies instead of the truth that you didn't have a backbone. All you had to do was gather your number count and threaten to withhold your vote. And you would have gotten the attention of all politicians. You would have gotten the attention of the oligarchy. All you simply had to do was gather your number count. You had 2 years. Well more than 2 years. All you had to do was gather your number count. If you would have been able to take a screenshot and show the oligarchy and every politician at the local, state, and federal level, I got 20 million persons in a database ready to give out consequences. These politicians will be singing a different tune, and your children and grandkids would have a future. But you're not doing that. You're not doing that. And why is that? Why are you still lying to yourself that your vote matters? Why are you doing that? It's got to be a reason. It's got to be a reason for any adult to still be lying that their vote matters after watching the country be invaded. Now, every one of us, life is threatened every day, second of the day. And y'all still believe your vote counts when every second of the day, every one of us, life is in danger because of this invasion. But you still believe it. You still believe your vote counted. You can't be that dumb and slow. It's impossible to be that dumb and slow that you still believe your vote counts. It's something else. Something else is at play. Because you're not that dumb and you're not that slow. You're not that dumb and you're not that slow. So it's got to be a reason why you still preaching that your vote counts. Do you have one of those inside connections? Each one of you who are still running around here telling folks that your vote matters, do you have an inside connection? Or did you get an invite from the oligarchy? I want to know. I want each of you to come clean and show your invite by the oligarchy. They sent you an invite and they invited you to the oligarchy to be a member. Because unless you got one of those invites, you shouldn't be running around here telling anyone that they vote count. Okay? Because the oligarchy has been in existence since 1981. And not one of you adults are showing the backbone to dismantle it. So it's not going nowhere. It's going to be there when your child and grandchild walk out into that world. It's going to still be in place. It's still going to be in place. When that day comes, when your child turns 18 or 20 or 22 and walk out into the world, the oligarchy is still going to be in operation. They are still going to be operating. They are still going to be operating. And when your grandchild turns 18, 20, 22, and walk out into the world, the oligarchy is going to still be in place unless you adults find the backbone to dismantle it. But from the looks of it, you don't even have the backbone to talk about it. So you surely don't have the backbone to dismantle it. So it's no drill. You got from now until to November to send your enemy a clear message that you will follow through with your threat to sit home. At least have the backbone to do that. Because if you are Negro or Black American, African American, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, Jamaican, Haitian, Bahamas, the continent, if you think your vote on the 5th of November is going to impact your life positively, you're lying. That vote on November the 5th is to keep on destroying Jamaica. Wait. Let me correct myself. That vote on the 5th of November is the first wipeout to try to wipe out the Negroes and Black Americans who are descendants of Negroes in America first, because that's the main target. You person who have brown skin and dark brown skin, you are being impacted by mistaken identity because you have similar skin tone. But America's main target is Negroes and Black American descendants of Negroes. But unfortunately, by mistaken identity, you are going to be impacted. But don't be mistaken now. America's main target is Negroes and Black American descendants of Negroes. And that's not a secret anymore. But a lot of brown skin and brown melanated skin persons are going to be impacted because of mistaken identity. Because see, they don't have the ability to cut you open or look at any paperwork and determine if you from that bloodline. So they're going to from time to time constantly have mistaken identity. But let me finish because I'm getting ready to close. Your vote on the 5th of November, you are voting for the demise of Negroes, Black Americans, African Americans, Freedmen, ADOS, FBA, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bahamas, the continent, and all brown melanated nations. And if you tell yourself anything different, you're lying. That vote on the 5th of November is to make sure that Jamaica continues to be harmed. It is to make sure that Haitian continues to be colonized. It is to make sure that Jamaican stays colonized in the continent. That's what that vote really matters. That's what that vote represents for these demons. They just need you to help them get across the finish line. They don't need you after you walk out of that voting booth. The only purpose that you serve and I serve is to help them get 5 extra votes on election night. That may be all they need. They may get 10 extra votes. They may get 15 extra votes. They may get 20 extra votes that get them across the finish line. But don't you continue to lie to yourself. Your vote matters for the length of time it takes you to walk in there, ask for your voting card, and check the boxes and walk back out. Now, I want you to time yourself. If you're still planning on voting, I want you to time it. And then I want you to tuck it away in the Bible, because that's the length of time that your vote matters. It's the length of time It takes you to walk in there, ask for your voting card, put it in the voting machine, and walk back out. That's the length of time that your vote matters. So we can stop all the foolishness. We can stop all the pretense. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. And those in the 50% and above bracket, voting does matter for them. Now, if you happen to be in that 50% bracket and above, then by all means, it benefits you to tell another person to go vote. But it don't benefit that person in the ghetto, in the projects, in the hood. It just don't. We got 50 years of proof. We got over 50 years of proof. Over 50 years of proof. We got the Ukraine. We got the Israel getting millions of dollars. We got the Ukraine getting millions of dollars. We got everybody under the sun getting millions of dollars, while the ghettos and the projects in the hood keep getting crumbs and keep getting a narrative paint that they just black on black crime. They just want to kill themselves. They just black on black crime. While y'all little perfect world is hunky-dory, they just black on black crime. Well, now, my suggestion is that the Negro and the Black American and the African American and the ADOS and the Freedmen and the FBA and the Jamaicans and the Haitians and the Bahamas and the continent send our enemy and oppressor a clear message. And just sit on the sideline and let them fight it out. But y'all don't have the backbone to do that, do y'all? Y'all just got to go out. Y'all just got to go out there and vote for y'all enemy. Okay. You're going to see soon enough. Kamala Harris is going to bring in immigrants from her nation. It's already spelled out. Donald Trump is going to bring in immigrants that support their agenda. Donald Trump and his support team are going to turn that clock back to slavery days. It's not going to be called slavery. It's going to be called mega prisons, tournament camps. You're getting a prelude by just looking at the Palestinians. I mean, you ain't got to hunt for it. You're getting a prelude of what the Republicans and probably some Democrats have in store for all brown skin and dark brown skin persons. What's his name? Heartbreaker D and this other lady by Nikki Barnes and all those brain dead folks in that space. They are epic. I mean, in my 62 years on this earth and being in a military environment around different personalities, those people in that room, they are brain dead. Either they got inside connections and they think they protected, because you can't be that dumb and slow not to know that your vote is going to harm the 50 million Americans, the 50 million over here, and it's also going to harm Jamaica, Haitians, Bahamas, and the continent and around the world. You can't be that dumb and slow. So you got to have an ulterior motive. You cannot be that dumb and slow. Heartbreaker, Nikki Barnes, anti-socialite, Fahima, somebody named Chris Evans, Mark. They got a whole slew of coke in that room. I mean, just go in a space and listen, anonymous. It's bizarre. Either those persons in that room are getting a bag of money, or they got an inside connection, or they got an IOU that they can call in anytime they feel like it, or they cannot be walking to the slaughter and talking like they talking. They have to know that they are walking to their slaughter. So if they don't think they're walking to their slaughter, it's got to be because they think they have a bag of money, or they already got a comfortable life, and maybe they have already put things in place to insulate them. But okay, they still gonna get that Tyreek Hill wake up call. That's nothing. You ain't nothing on this planet that can protect you from that wake up call that Tyreek Hill got, and most of us have gotten. So you can have all the money in the bank that you can have. You can have all the money in the bank that you can have. You're going to get that wake up call more than likely someday, if you live long enough. You're going to get that wake up call. Make sure you answer the phone when it comes, okay? Just make sure that you answer the phone when it comes. Don't pretend like you don't hear it ringing. You pick up that phone. Because if you bear witness to what took place that happened to Tyreek Hill, and it breaks my heart the way they mistreated Tyreek Hill. Like I told you, Tyreek Hill was one of my favorite fantasy players. I mean, he was on my fantasy team every chance I could get. But I don't watch TV no more. I haven't watched TV since 2020. I've been boycotted. So I don't know what. I don't know. I just remember him when I was watching football and basketball. And to see them mistreat Tyreek Hill that way, and so many of us, they mistreat all of us daily. I mean, it's no secret. It's no secret. They mistreat each of us daily. Each one of us have our daily experience with these racist, evil people. We experience it daily, and we pretend that a lot of us pretend like it don't happen. And we just wake up and say, we're going to go vote for our enemy. We gun-ho, and we're looking forward to voting for our enemy and our oppressor. And we think that if we can put the right candidate in there, it's going to change. If only we can vote for the right policies, if only we run our own candidate, it's going to change. Well, you make up 50 million persons of the population. You are outnumbered. You are outnumbered. And the Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans control 27 states. They control them. So you do the math. Y'all, you intelligent adults, you do the math. If you are at a disadvantage of 27 states out of 50, what are the odds that your voice matters with your little vote? Do anyone want to send me a DM message and give me the answer? Because this is not rocket science. A fifth grader could figure this one out. A fifth grader could figure out the answer. There's 50 states. Okay, fifth grader. This is the math problem. There is 50 states, and the Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans control 27 out of those 50. Now, who have the advantage? The persons who fall into in that voting block of the Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans, that voting block controls 27 states. It's only 23 left over. It's only 23 left over. Do the math. It's not rocket science. A fifth grader can figure that out. So it's quite pitiful and embarrassing for you adults to keep getting up on an app day after day preaching about voting for your enemy and your oppressor, because it's a fifth grader can figure this out. So why you adults are not telling the truth? Do you have an invite to that oligarchy? I want to know. I want you to come clean. Did you get an invite to that oligarchy club? Which one of you that got your invite to the oligarchy? Which one of you got your invite to the cartel? Which one of you got the invite to the Rockefellers? Which one of you got the invite to BlackRock? Come clean and tell on yourself. It don't matter really, because they're gonna make you think that you are included. They're gonna tell your little small brain that you are included, that race don't matter, there's no discrimination, all you got to do is vote, everything gonna be fine, everything gonna be fine, until you get that wake-up call. Just wait. That day is coming. If you live long enough, it's coming. So this is no drill. This is no drill. Kamala Harris is very dangerous. Kamala Harris is dangerous because she's got the LGBTQ behind her. She's got all those Ivy League colleges persons behind her. She's got a whole nation called India. And if you brain dead people care about your children and grandkids, go research how many she let in. That's gonna only be a drop in the bucket if she make president. That's only gonna be a drop in the bucket if she makes president. I predict they're gonna reduce half of the population in India, and they're gonna end up in America. So your behind and my behind gonna have to pack our suitcase and go to another place. I don't know. You're gonna be over flooded. Something got to give. Y'all intelligent adults, something got to give. If Kamala Harris bring in half of her nation from India, the persons in America already, something's got to give. It's not enough resources to go around. It's just not. It's not enough resources to go around. Somebody is going to have to be sacrificed. Either half of Kamala Harris's nation going to have to stay in India, but if Kamala Harris wants to bring half of her nation to America, the Americans who are already in America, somebody is going to have to suffer. What is your guess as to who's going to suffer? Send me a DM. Something got to give. This is not rocket science. This is not being non-compassionate for another human being, but I don't see how it makes sense to bring in a half of another whole nation the same way they brought in over half of Mexico and just dumped it into America. I mean, Mexico is so empty now that they are asking for people to come to Mexico. I never thought I'd live to see that day. The folks from Mexico have invaded America to such a degree that Mexico is asking for folks to come back to Mexico. It don't get no more pitiful than that. I mean, you adults should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. All you persons who defend immigration, God gonna take care of you. Heartbreaker D, Nikki Barnes, anti-socialite, uh, Bahima, all you Pan-Africans. Every time I hear folks who care about being Pan-Africa taken up for immigration, I think to myself, they don't care about the harm that's being done to Jamaica. Because if they cared about what was happening to Jamaica and Haiti and the Bahamas, they wouldn't be defending immigration. America has weaponized immigration since Negroes came out of slavery in 1865. And because America and the whole world weaponized immigration, that's why they have the ability to cause destruction in these other nations and cause those people to have to leave their nation and come to America. But you defend it. It's downright bizarre. I mean, we got adults who call themselves, they are freedom fighters, they are liberators, they are Pan-African, and they over here in America fighting tooth and nail to defend immigration. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. If you in America defending immigration, something is wrong there, because America and the whole world played a part in causing you to have to leave your nation. Why would you be in America trying to defend immigration? That's bizarre. It is downright bizarre. The damage that America and the whole world has done to the continent, it should not be one dark brown skinned person on this earth defending immigration. If you got a brain in your head, because your colonizer has weaponized immigration. That's why they made you have to leave your nation and pack your suitcase. So why would you be in any nation trying to defend immigration unless you're brain dead? Because your colonizer weaponized immigration. That was their number one weapon. No, I'll say that's probably the number two weapon, because their number one weapon was intermixing. They just knew they had to be intimate with the Aboriginal people of the land, and then they knew when those babies was born into the world, they were going to have split allegiance. They're going to have dual allegiance. So all they knew they had to do was to plot to intermix with you and cause a separation, and then over a period of time take control. So their second weapon was they was going to make conditions so poor in your nation that you would have to leave your nation and make it weaker and go to another nation and be oppressed again. So either they knew they had you, they knew they had the upper hand. They knew they were going to come, they was going to invade your nation and intermix with you and take control that way. Then after they gained control that way, they was going to implement their next strategy, which was immigration, that will force you to have to leave your nation and come to one of the nations that they control and be oppressed again. So they knew they just had to have patience and propaganda, and they was going to win that battle against you. They literally got brown skin and dark brown skin persons defending immigration. It's downright pitiful. America, Russia, UK, Jews, China, all these nations that you persons claim have superpower, they got you defending. They got you running around here defending immigration. It's pitiful. It's downright pitiful. They caused you to leave your nation, and now they got you on a public app defending their evil. It don't get no more bizarre than that. It don't get any more bizarre than that. But if you persons had a backbone, you should shove it down your colonizer's throat every second of the day that you deserve to be back in your nation. You deserve to have never had to leave your nation. But you're not showing them that. Instead, you are defending their evil policy. I can't even find the words to get them out my mouth. It's downright pitiful. It is. It's downright pitiful. And it's pitiful because you can see the harm that over decades and decades and decades of harm has worn people down, has beat them down to the ground, to the degree that they are literally defending their enemy. Evil policy. That you are witnessing a human being that has been beat down over decades and decades and decades and decades. They have been beat down decades and decades and decades. They have been beat down by the harm that has been done by evil people, that they have literally started defending their enemy. It's sad. It's very, very sad. And I thank my mother and I thank my Heavenly Father that I have been able to somehow or another evaluate it in spite of the trauma and scars that were passed down to me by my ancestors. Somehow or another, the blinders came off after Obama became president. I was victimized for over 30 years. I cannot deny that. I'm not ashamed of it. I have to accept accountability. For over 30 years of my life, I told myself, Aquilin, your vote matters. Your vote matters, Aquilin. Your vote matters. You do everything in your power to encourage others to go vote. But my Heavenly Father and my mother's teachings and my own common sense finally helped me to take the blinders off. It was painful. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I sat home in 2016 on that couch, I felt mixed emotions. There was complete turmoil inside of me. I felt bad that I did not go vote, and then I felt bad that I was sitting home. I felt bad that I could feel myself feeling weak. I could feel myself feeling weak and saying, Aquilin, why are you sitting home on this couch? And I answered myself. I had to answer myself because, I love myself. I'm going to have to give myself a truthful answer. I'm not going to lie to myself. So as I sat there analyzing the emotions that I was feeling, I said, Aquilin, you're going to have to be honest with yourself. And I said to myself, come hell or high waters, I was not going to go vote for Hillary Clinton. That racist human being. She has played a major part in the destruction of Haiti. I caught some information research on that recently, Hillary Clinton and what's his name? Um, Bill Clinton. I almost forgot the sorry human being's name. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Bill Gates and all of them in cahoots that's causing the destruction in Haiti and Jamaica and Bahamas and around the world. They all in cahoots with each other. So as I sat there on the couch, I said to myself, Aquilin, you are not going to walk out that door and go vote for Hillary Clinton. That was kind of easy. Now, Donald Trump, I said, Aquilin, you're not going to go vote for that evil man. He's going to pad the courts at the local, state, and federal level, and he's going to lock up millions of your people once he finished padding the courts with his stool pigeon judges. So many persons from your community are going to have to walk through those courtrooms and be sent to jail and their freedom taken from them for years and years. So, Aquilin, can you go vote for that evil man with a clear conscience? Aquilin, Donald Trump is going to get a chance to appoint a Supreme Court judge on top of appointing all of those judges at the local, state, and federal level. And I said to myself, Aquilin, you made the right decision not to go vote for Trump or Hillary Clinton. And I just kept right on enjoying my popcorn. I just sat there and kept right on enjoying my popcorn. And I said, now you can be at peace, Aquilin. You have frankly answered the question, and you can put aside all that turmoil because you made your decision based on truth. You made your evaluation of Trump, and you made your evaluation of Hillary Clinton, and you chose to sit home on your couch. So no matter how long you live from this day forward, you are always going to be able to answer that question because you answer that question for yourself. Without anyone's help, you didn't have to wait for anyone to ask you that question. You asked that question of yourself. So I'm going to get ready to close it out. This is no drill. This is no drill. And the Republicans and the Democrats and the Independents only need about 6 months to 2 years to finish getting things in place for all of our demise and our children and grandkids. They need only about 6 more months. That's why Donald Trump said, I heard someone state, Donald Trump let the cat out the bag. He said after this election, you're not going to have to vote. Did y'all not read between the lines? Oh, no, y'all were too brain dead to read between the lines. Donald Trump let the cat out the bag. If I understood correctly, he said somebody had stated on one of these audio rooms that Donald Trump said you're not going to have to worry about voting after this election. If that didn't spell your demise, I don't know how to make it any more clear for you. But you can believe what you want. I am going to make sure I do everything in my power to put things in place to protect myself and my daughter and as many persons in my community as humanly possible. You persons can walk into that voting booth and vote for your demise and vote for the demise of your children and grandkids, and it's going to be on your conscience because you're not going to have to wait long. You're going to see proof of that probably in the next 6 months, no later than the next 2 years. You got maybe 6 months or 2 years to flip this script. Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans and all melanated persons have maybe 2 years to flip this script. If God's willing, we may have 2 years. to gather our numbers and relocate our behind back to the South and take majority of one of these 8 states, or we are going to have to maybe think about packing that suitcase, because you're going to have to go somewhere. Or you can just stay where you at and be outnumbered. It's not rocket science. You can either stay where you at and look at your population breakdown and be outnumbered, or you can pack up that U-Haul and try to relocate to one of those 8 states and survive, and know that you will be able to look your child in the face one day and your grandchild and say, I put it on the line. I made a stand. I didn't just walk in that voting booth and lie to myself that my vote counted. I didn't do it. Show some backbone. This may be the last time that you have a chance to do that. Make that stand. If America doesn't deliver Special Field Order 15 before this election, let them crash and burn. They have shown you for over 50 years that you are not going to get nothing but crumbs. I think you can survive without those crumbs. You're going to be able to survive without those crumbs. But you can be sending a major blow to your enemy and your oppressor if you stay home. You really will. They will be thinking about that every second of the day that they wake up. Every time they think about gunning down one of us, that's going to cross their mind. Every time they think about mistreating us, one of us, they're going to think about all those Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans and Freedmen and ADOS and FBA and Jamaicans and Haitians and Bahamas and the continent, Ethiopian, Nigerian, that sat home and did not vote in a corrupt system. They're going to remember that. You're going to send a very powerful message to them without any bloodshed. But just start preparing for that. But you will be on dished out the first blow. And they'll never forget that. As long as this earth is in existence, they'll never forget that. And it will be something very powerful that will make them shake in their boots. But you're going to have to show them that you have the backbone to do it. Do you have it in you? Do you adults have that in you? Can you make that sacrifice for your children and grandkids and sit home? Do you have it in you to do that? That's yet to be seen. But if we do not gather that number count, if we don't spend every waking moment to gather that number count between now and the next 2 years, we're going to be at a disadvantage. We are going to be at a disadvantage, and our children and grandkids are going to pay that price. Most of us adults are going to die off. Most of us elders and some of us young and middle-aged folks, we'll die off. We're gonna die a natural death, or we're gonna get gunned down by Jim Crow police and murdered like an animal. Or we're gonna end up in one of their slave prisons. It's not a whole lot of options there. You're gonna either end up in one of their slave prisons, or you're either going to get gunned down like an animal. You're going to either die a natural death, or you may end up in a tournament camp like the Palestinians. Also, you got a few options there. Or maybe you can pack up your suitcase. Maybe you can pack up that suitcase and relocate out of America and find you another safe haven. Who knows? But one thing is clear. your vote don't count. My vote don't count. That's crystal clear. Now it counts for the length of time for you to walk in there and walk back out. It may give one of those evil candidates 10 extra votes, 20 extra votes, 30 extra votes. But as far as impacting your day-to-day life and your children and grandchildren's life, no, it don't. It don't matter as far as that. As far as that goes, it don't. Now, from time to time, a few crumbs trickle down. A few of those crumbs will trickle down because they got to make it look good. If they don't make it look good, then it can't be believable. So they got to let a few of those crumbs trickle down to the bottom. Otherwise, they can't keep bamboozling you. They got to make it look good. They have to make it look good. So naturally, they want a few of those crumbs to trickle down to the bottom. Just a few, but not enough to really have an impact. They can only let a few of those crumbs trickle down. They cannot allow for it to have a major impact that really make a difference. Oh, they cannot allow that. So they just got to keep on bamboozling you to convincing you to think that your vote matters. They got to keep on convincing you of that. But you only make up 50 million of the population. So you intelligent enough to know whether or not your vote matters. Just from that alone. You ain't even took in consideration the oligarchy. And then on top of all of that, the Republicans and the Asians and the Latinos and the Mexicans have control of 27 states. So how do your vote matter when they have control of those 27 states? How do you perform a Houdini to make your vote matter when their voting block control 27 states out of 50? How do you lie to yourself to that degree? I would just like to try to understand that. How do adults lie to themselves to that degree that they convince themselves that their vote matters if they just run the right candidate, if they just vote on policies, when you don't control a voting block in 27 states? How did that work? I don't understand it. Something ain't adding up. Either these people got a bag of money, they got an inside connection, or they got an IOU, or they have a comfortable position that they have worked hard for themselves and put themselves in that position, and they think they're going to be okay. There's not many variables that you need to evaluate, because this is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. You either have received your invitation to become a member of the oligarchy, or what was it? You get a bag of money, or you got an IOU that you can call in anytime you feel like it. Okay, IOU, I'm calling the person, I want to call in my IOU. Or you have already positioned yourself financially enough that you're not going to be impacted by Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, if you have already positioned yourself with protection, with mental stability, with physical stability, and financial stability, maybe you won't be impacted by Trump or Kamala Harris. But those that's in that 30% bracket and below are going to be impacted. The Republicans have made it no secret that they want smaller government. Newsflash, that's a code word for they want all those persons who depend on government assistance to perish. I don't know why y'all didn't Understand that they spend 24 hours a day in these Twitter spaces and on these social media platforms talking about smaller government, cutting the government. That's a code word that they have already calculated those people as expendable. They just can't tell you outright, we want those people to die. I guess you waiting on them to tell you that in straight words. Y'all can't be that dumb and slow. It's just no way humanly possible for you adults to be that dumb and slow that every time you hear a Republican talking about, we are cutting government, we want smaller government, read between the lines. That means that we want all of those persons who need that safety net, who need that assistance, to die. While they want those persons to die, they don't have any problem with sending $10 million to Israel every day. They don't have any problem rolling out the red carpet to invaders. But then they want to complain about those persons who have to have support from the government. They receive a small snippet of what these banks and corporations get, what these invaders get, what Israel gets, what Ukraine gets, what many of these nations receive monthly. Compared to what these other nations and these invaders and the Israel receive monthly, those persons on government assistance it's not like a drop in the bucket compared to all those other ones combined. But all the focus is on those persons on welfare. All the focus is on all those persons who need government assistance. When you add up, if you go back and look at the budgets, the amount that go to those government programs is so tiny compared to America bailing out corporations and banks. It's so tiny compared to how America bails out the corporations and the banks and let them break regulations daily. How they pay all this money to Israel, 10 million per day. All the money that's been sent to Ukraine and around the world for the past 50 years, all the money that has been paid out for invaders. When a country pay invaders, you know it's done. It's a wrap. But you add those, y'all are unbelievable. A country pays invaders that threaten the life of every citizen, and they roll out the red carpet. They give them EBT cards, clothing vouchers, housing vouchers, apartment vouchers, medical vouchers, Social Security, voting rights, hire them on the police force, let them in the military. What? And make sure to tell the banks they cannot turn down loans. And now the Democrats are not happy with all that. They want to make sure that they get what was that amount? 150,000 down payment. Well, Democrats, don't you think descendants of Negroes should have been given 150 down payment without a credit check? Because all these immigrants don't have a credit. They do not have to get past that hurdle. They don't have a credit. But while you sitting up here lying to people like Heartbreaker and Nikki Barnes and giving them that talking point, you forgot to explain to them the details of the criteria to get approved for that down payment. You're going to have the credit. You're going to have a job. Unfortunately, Negroes and other melanated persons don't have the luxury of somebody erasing their credit. They have to walk in that door and try to get approved based on their credit. But seeing as how you love these invaders, you told them they don't have a credit record on file. So Heartbreaker and Nikki Barnes, those invaders are going to get their application approved over Negroes every day of the week. But y'all don't care about that. Y'all are voting for y'all own demise. I think some of you have to be working for the enemy because you cannot be this dumb and slow. So for me to listen to y'all Twitter space anonymously, I have to sit there and try not to pass out. I literally do. I can't listen that long. I mean, it's so painful. I don't even last that long. I'm gonna be straight honest with you. I have been on these public apps for well over 2 years, but after coming into Heartbreaker and Nikki Barnes them cult space, I can't even last more than probably 10 or 20 minutes at the most. I'm doing good if I last 10 minutes. I'm really doing good if I last 10 minutes in there listening anonymously. So something ain't adding up. These people cannot be this dumb and slow. They cannot be that dumb and slow. So they either have already gotten an invite to the oligarchy membership, or they have already are daily collecting their bag of money, or they have received a IOU and they can call it in anytime they feel like it, or they have already financially secured themselves and they think they're protected. It's not adding up. It's not adding up because these intelligent people know that the oligarchy has been in control of this government since 1981. That's not a secret. So why are they not talking about it? If the Republicans and the Democrats are not talking about the oligarchy, then they're lying to you. And if they stool pigeons and their hand-picked peons are not talking about it on these public apps, they are lying to you because it's not a secret. It's not a secret anymore. The oligarchy has been in existence since 1981. And there have been only 2 other times that America has been under the control of the oligarchy. One time, the first time was slavery. We all know about slavery. The second time was the Industrial Revolution. We all learned and did our own research about the Industrial Revolution. And now we are currently under the third one since 1981. So why is all these folks who run around here and try to shame and fearmonger people into voting, why they don't ever talk about it? Why is that? It's not a secret, but they never talk about it. They never talk about how they're going to dismantle it, how they're going to destroy it. Because when I start hearing folks talk about how they plan to strategize how to dismantle it or to destroy it, then I take them serious. Until they do that, I am listening to sheep's being led to the slaughter. Unless you got an inside connection. You either walk and volunteer to be slaughtered, or you have an inside connection. It's not too many variables there. You either volunteering to walk to be slaughtered, or you have an inside connection that you feel that puts protection around you. It's not too many options there. It's not rocket science. Because a 5th grader can figure this out. A 5th grader can figure this out. So y'all have a good night. I'm getting ready to shut it down. Thank you for popping in for the broadcast. Oh my gosh, it's almost 6 a.m. on the East Coast. I should be under the bed, but I'm getting ready to shut it down, and then I'm going to get back up and try to have a productive day. This old body at 62 is getting tired. I feel it than I used to. Before I turned 62, I felt I had a abundance of energy. But as soon as that birthday hit on the 29th and I turned that 62, it's like day and night. My body feels completely different just by a number increase from 61 to 62. And now I can remember those days when my elders used to explain that to me. They say you're going to know the difference as you get older. And I didn't believe them. And my mother used to say, don't be too in a hurry to get older. Now I remember those conversations. I certainly feel it in my body. When I was still 61, I felt I had so much energy. I could work 15-hour days, 18-hour days without even giving it a thought. And I could work 24 hours if I pushed myself. Now I can barely hang in there. I fight it every day to find the energy to do what I want to try to get done. But it's a real thing. I just want folks to know it's a real thing that your body lets you know. And I have been really awakening to that reality that when I turned 62 on April the 29th, I didn't think my body was going to change that much. I really didn't give it a thought. But it's a real thing. And so here we go. This is not a drill. Every Negro, every Black American, every African American, every Freedman, every ADOS, every FBA, every Jamaican, every Haitian, every Bahamas, every Ethiopian, every Nigerian, and all the other tribe names on the continent, every brown melanated person in America needs to make a stand and send a non-vote, a no vote to your enemy and your oppressor. You may never get another opportunity in your life to do that. But your enemy they will be shaking in their boots every day they get up from this day forward. From that day forward, they are going to show you some respect, whether they like you or not, because they're going to be shaking in their boots and they're going to be thinking about the blow that you sent them by a no vote. They're never going to forget that. They will never forget that until the day they die. They'll never look at you the same way ever again. So I hope that each of us can do our own critical evaluation and make a stand once and for all. Because we maybe have 6 months to 2 years. If we're fortunate enough, we may have 6 months to 2 years before these evil people finish getting things in place. So our best chance at survival is to send a clear message to our enemy and our oppressor that they will get a no vote. If Special Field Order 15 is not signed back into law, which was a war contract, it needs to be signed back into law. And once that's back in place, Negroes and Black American descendants of Negroes will be in a position to help all melanated persons around the world. And America knows that Russia knows that. China knows that. Every nation outside of America knows that if the Negroes and the Black Americans get what was promised and a broken contract that was broken by President Andrew Jackson that rescinded Special Field Order 15, that Negroes are going to be in a position to help all melanated persons around the world. And they don't want that to happen. So they have convinced you persons in America who have melanated skin to be gun-ho to look forward to go vote for your enemy. I don't know how we don't see the play. It's just hard to comprehend as to why we don't see this play. This is an easy one. It was hard when we first got the right to vote. But at this stage, at this late stage, this is an easy play to figure out. That if we want to send our enemies a clear message, we have to demand that they either deliver Special Field Order 15 along with cash payments, but they have to give up something before that election. They got some options here. They got option 1, deliver land and cash payments. No, option 1 is Special Field Order 15. Option 2, deliver land and cash payments. Or option 3, nothing. And if they choose the option 3, then our collective reply should be a no vote. Because we clearly don't matter after we walk out of that voting booth. And they know that. They just don't want you to know that. They know that. They know your vote and my vote only matters for the length of time that it takes me to walk in there and walk back out until midterm election roll around, if you're still alive. So since you know this, then you should be able to summon the courage for a no vote if they don't meet those demands. If you have a backbone, you should be able to summon the courage of a no vote, because this opportunity is not going to come back around. Donald Trump has already let the cat out the bag, based on what I heard through the grapevine, that Donald Trump said, you're not going to have to worry about voting after this election. If you intelligent, common sense person did not read between the lines and figure out what was said there that was not said in clear words, that this is your last opportunity to force your enemy's hand and force them to give up something for your vote. You ain't gonna get another opportunity after this election. The whole landscape is gonna be reshaped. And Negroes and Black American descendants of Negroes in Jamaica and Haiti and the Bahamas and the continent and all brown nations are going to continue to be at the bottom. Those of us over here in America, we are in the best position to help all brown nations. Depending on what we do over here will determine the fate of all brown nations around the world. We don't fully comprehend that magnitude, but that's the way it's been. That's the way it's been since America made human beings slaves. It's been that way since then. It's no secret. Since America built their wealth and their power off the backs of slaves, that's been the case. It's not a secret. Now, the only thing that each of us have to face is that we have one opportunity to make a stand. What we decide will determine the fate of each of us adults and our children and grandkids. This is not a threat. This is reality. It's not a drill. They spelling it out every single day. For Tariq Hill to be mistreated the way he was simply from speeding, and for Sandra Macy to be shot because she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you, racist policeman, in the name of Jesus. And you persons who call yourself adults are still waking up thinking your vote matters. Something wrong there. Something is seriously wrong there. When you have already learned how Sandra Macy was murdered, and you have heard about all the other deaths for the past 3 years. You have constantly heard about all the other murders for the past 2 years, or the past over 3 years. And you still tell yourself that your vote matters in this racist country. You can't, something is wrong there. And then God decided to deliver you another example when Tariq Hill got his wake-up call. That mistreatment was uncalled for. It was totally uncalled for. But you brain dead people wants to think that your vote matters. The country has been invaded. It's been taken over. Who's running it? Who's running this country? No, it's anyone's guess. Is it the cartels? Is it the Rockefellers? Is it the Black Rocks? Or is it the invaders? Somebody is running the country, but your little vote and my little vote is not going to have any say in that. But you do have a small window between now and the time you walk into that voting booth to send a clear message to your enemy. If you pass that up, you probably not going to get another opportunity after this go round. If each of us make that critical evaluation and choose to pass it up, it's not coming back around. Just not. We're in those times when most of us can try to make a critical evaluation that something got to give. America is either going to be destroyed or they're going to pay that debt. Those nations around the world are in the same boat. They are either going to pay the debt that they owe for the evil that they have done, or the world is coming to an end. And your little vote and my little vote is not going to change that. But we can do everything in our power to flip this script. And the way we flip this script is by dishing out consequences of a no vote and sitting on the sidelines and let them fight it out and tell them that you don't want their crumbs. You don't want their mistreatment anymore. You don't want them gunning you down like an animal. You don't want them making you homeless. You don't want them laying you off of jobs and paying invaders. You're going to have to answer that question to your enemy. Depending on how you answer that question is going to determine whether you flip this script or not, or things continue as usual. The choice is yours. Your enemy is waiting on your reply. Your enemy is waiting on your reply. How you decide to reply to your enemy is going to determine whether or not these racist policemen stop mistreating each of us daily. Your reply is going to determine whether each of us continue to face racism 24 hours a day, every day we get up. Your reply is going to determine how many of us as a collective are going to end up in prison or murdered and gunned down like an animal, or homeless or dead. So think long and hard, because it's not a drill. This is not a drill. And voting for the lesser of two evils worked back in 1970. Voting for the lesser of two evils worked in 1980. Voting for the lesser of two evils worked in 1990. Voting for the lesser of two evils worked in 2000. I think it started ending around that after 2000. It's not gonna work any. It has stopped working sometime around 2000. So you don't need to lie to yourself about that anymore. You are not voting for the lesser of two evils. They both are evil. They both are evil. They both are evil. You cannot vote for the lesser of two evils. When something is evil, it's evil. There can be layers and layers and layers of evil, but when you're voting for evil, you are voting for evil. So you cannot vote for the lesser of two evils. So the choice is yours. The choice is every individual person. Send your enemy one clear message of a no vote if they don't deliver on 1, 2, or 3 demands before November the 5th. And the first demand should be Special Field Order 15. The second demand should be land and cash payments. And the third option is separation. I forgot that one. Let's end integration once and for all. Those are the 3 demands. End integration. Demand number 1, Special Field Order 15. Demand number 2, land/cash payments. Demand number 3, end integration. Thank you kindly. If you don't deliver on those demands, then there should be a collective no vote. And let the chips fall where they may. Because 50 years of crumbs is long enough. 50 years of just receiving crumbs from these politicians is long enough. Let them crash and burn. Let Donald Trump's team crash and burn, and let Kamala Harris' team crash and burn, and let RFK team crash and burn. Let Dr. West team crash and burn. Let them all crash and burn, because if they get elected, they are going to be under the control of the oligarchy. So your little vote may help them get across the finish line, but they are going to be controlled by the oligarchy. So you can lie to yourself if you want, but the truth is the truth. 1981 is over 40 years of proof that the oligarchy has control and power over this government. So that's it for me, folks. Y'all, thank you for popping in for the broadcast. I'm going to get ready to turn in and try to get a couple hours of sleep so I can get back up and start my day. But thank you kindly for popping in for the broadcast and taking time out of your evening or your night. And I hope and pray that you are safe and out of harm's way. Stay alert. Stay alert. Look out for one another and watch each other's back. And I trust that the good Lord sure that we live out our days the way it's meant to be. Take care, folks. Take care.